You're listening to the Sports Circus, and I'm Mike Golick.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner, 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome in to everybody listening in on our network affiliates and all of those people watching on television. Thanks for joining us on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, WOW, Charter, and independent cable affiliates in select markets, as well as Hotel TV, where applicable, plus Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Make sure you check that out, folks. Fun group for your favorite restaurants, your favorite recipes. Make some friends, have some fun, talk about your favorite foods. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right, and by the way, if you're just tuning in for the first time here, this is a fun little show where we actually talk a lot about sports that other people, as far as the depth of it, other people don't have the, we'll just say sometimes the backbone, because their money is going to get funny.
Show me the money!
They always want to make sure that their sponsors and all this other nonsense is in place. Well, we don't really worry so much about that. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, listen, folks, sometimes we may make some people a little bit angry. Sometimes we won't. Sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't. In any event, that's what we do over here. But our friends over at Vacation Buddies, they want to give you a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas, or a couple of nights in Branson, Missouri, or in Orlando, Florida, if you can answer this simple trivia question. Which NBA superstar won 6 NBA titles? Is it A, Magic Johnson, B, Shaquille O'Neal, C, Kobe Bryant, or D, Michael Jordan? If you know the answer to that simple trivia question, call 888-576-5777 right now for your shot at a couple of nights in Vegas, Branson, Missouri, or Orlando, Florida. Again, which NBA superstar won 6 NBA titles? Is it A, Magic Johnson, B, Shaquille O'Neal, C, Kobe Bryant, or D, Michael Jordan? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Remember, Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they sure want to give you a couple of nights in any one of those locations, whether it's Vegas or Branson, Missouri, or Orlando, Florida. Call them right now, 888-576-5777. All right, so we're going to turn a different direction today, because that's what we do sometimes. We seem to go all over the map, but we like that. We don't do rapid fire, quick topics here. No, we want to develop the topic. And today's topic, it's all about Caitlin Clark. Now, if you don't know who she is, you've been living under a rock. She is a WNBA star and arguably the most popular female athlete right now as we know it. And there are some things that happen when she's on the court, when she's playing. And I have to say that it seems like some of the treatment to her is a little unfair. And you can call it what you will. You can call it a little bit of this, a little bit of that, whatever. But you ask yourself, let's take a quick look at the WNBA and the makeup. Now, the WNBA demographics showcase a diverse player base with a high representation of Black and African American players, as well as significant number of LGBTQ plus identifying individuals. Fan demographics are also notable, with a large percentage of young adults 18 to 34 and a growing male viewership. I'd like to see the stats on that because I don't even know where that's coming from. But the player demographics of the WNBA is where we need to go first before we dive into the Caitlin Clark stuff. So, of course, from race and ethnicity, the WNBA has a high percentage of Black or African American players, with 70.3% of the players identifying as such, according to the four-letter network. Of course, that would be ESPN to you. And players of color make up 81.1% of the league. Gender, of course, as women's leagues, 100% WNBA, the players are female. Sexual orientation, according to Google, a substantial proportion of the WNBA players identify as LGBTQ+, with many openly identifying as lesbians. Now, the fan demographic, back to that, the age, a large portion of the WNBA fans are, again, young adults, 18 to 34, demographic that's growing, according to YouGov. And the gender side of it is, while the WNBA is traditionally seen as appealing to women, according to Statista, there is a growing male viewership, according also to Reddit. Now, of course, on the race and ethnicity side, Statista reports Black individuals show a strong interest in the WNBA, according to Statista, and additionally, white viewers are growing segments of the audience, according to Reddit. Now, league office demographics, in 2022, 41.8% of the league employees were people of color, and gender of 69.4% of the league offices, and those employees were women. So, in case, well, first let's give them a nice round of applause. So, in case you're wondering why we're doing this, is because, again, Caitlin Clark is essentially the focus of today's show. Why do we talk about this? I'll get to this in a minute. But anyway, let's go to an event, something that happened with Caitlin Clark. And we're not going to timestamp this one. I want to be able to play this one again down the road because this is really significant to the WNBA in general. I'm not saying this particular topic, but Caitlin Clark is easily the biggest deal in the WNBA as it stands today. Now, here's something that came out, and this was from Fox News in their sports department. They said the tennis great Chris Evert, everybody remember her? She was one hell of a tennis player. She calls out WNBA players after what? The latest Caitlin Clark skirmish. All right, we're going to get into that. Of course, Clark was poked in the eye and shoved to the ground. That's right. And this is the kind of crap that happens to Caitlin Clark, apparently. So according to, again, Fox News, they say tennis legend Chris Evert needled WNBA players for a lack of sportsmanship following a game that saw the Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark get poked in the eye and shoved to the ground in a game against the Connecticut Sun. Give me a damn break. Well, she should have just got up and give her one of those. Anyway, so Clark and Sun players Marina Mabry and Tina Charles were hit with technical fouls. J.C. Sheldon was given a flagrant foul, and later, Fever guard Sophie Cunningham appeared to retaliate with a hard foul on Sheldon. Both players were ejected from the game with 40 seconds left. You know, that's what I like about hockey. You know, the hockey penalties, they will carry over into the next game if you pull that nonsense at the end of the game. Maybe they should do that in basketball too. Anyway, so going back to good old Chris Evert. Now, Chris Evert was among those who commented on the Clark incident. And she had said, quote, "When will these ladies realize, accept, and appreciate that Caitlin Clark is the best thing that ever happened to women's basketball? This is a bad look for the sport and what's happened to sportsmanship," close quote. So she wrote that on social media. And of course, she responded to a social media post made by columnist Christine Brennan, who is set to release a book, of course, on Caitlin Clark as well. And in fact, there was a quote, and it said, "The WNBA continues to fail to meet the moment. Terrible decisions to allow Marina Mabrey to stay in the game. People are watching as never before. And this is what they see." That's what, close quote. This is what Colleen Brennan had wrote. Now, listen, I share the same. Look, I have a real problem with her, or Christine Brennan, not Colleen Brennan. Christine Brennan wrote that. And so as I look at this, I say, what are they trying to do here? Why are they trying to push her around? Is this a race thing? Is it a newcomer thing? What is this? I don't know what it is. But when the best thing that technically is seemingly financially has ever happened to that particular league, it would seem to me that it's a little bit of jealousy. I mean, what else could it be? That all those other players before her couldn't do, before Caitlin Clark, that is, they couldn't do what Caitlin Clark is doing, which is drive the bottom line for the WNBA in the first place. In the next segment, I'm going to dive into that and talk about her impact on the WNBA. I mean, folks, it is significant. I have to say that poking people in the eye, jamming them down to the floor, this kind of stuff, I mean, look, this happens. And the crew chief, of course, Ashley Gross, spoke to the pool of reporters after the game and was asked about the foul. And, of course, Gross said, quote, "After the foul by Sheldon Clark reacted in an unsportsmanlike manner," close quote. Okay, so what happened? Nothing is going to happen to them. Absolutely nothing. And this whole thing is a complete disaster. Back here in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come on the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Excellent. If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards for home renovations or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and find a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, this segment is brought to you by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. That's CSNCoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. The College of Southern Nevada Athletics. CSNCoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. And folks, I believe that the College of Southern Nevada is the best school right here in Southern Nevada. I'm talking about on the post-secondary level. For all you that don't know what that means, that's after high school, because high school is secondary education, right? And so I believe that the College of Southern Nevada offers the best value, and let's face it, without the big price tag, as well as the same classes at the university, the big university that's here in town. But guess what? Even they have competition with Nevada State University now, way down in Henderson. So let's face it, folks, the College of Southern Nevada Athletics has been around for a while. The College of Southern Nevada has been around for a while. Check them out at those games. I tell you what, those baseball and basketball games and soccer games and softball games, they're a lot of fun. Check them out at csncoyotes.com. All right, welcome back to everybody on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast, including our friends over in Atlanta. Thanks for waking up with us on WDJY 99.1 FM. Right down the road over in Alabama, in Auburn, is WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves. Actually, that signal extends from Columbus, Georgia, all the way out to Montgomery. Thanks for joining us and driving home with us on WAUD. Everybody up and down the Midwest, throughout the heartland, all the way out to the West Coast, even those driving between Las Vegas and Los Angeles on Interstate 15 through the Mojave Desert. Guess what? 107.3 FM and 101.5 FM. We appreciate you listening in on Highway Country Radio over there as well. Boy, that signal goes for, I think it's about 200 miles. That's nuts. And we're on at 7 p.m. So for everybody driving that, thinking about either getting back home to Southern California or getting over to Vegas, listen, we appreciate you tuning in and paying attention and having some fun with us. Also, this also includes everybody up to San Francisco and Seattle, all the way up to Anchorage. We have a station up there, as well as another affiliate over in Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees, the 49ers, and, of course, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Plus, everybody else watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, WOW, Charter, and independent affiliates. Thanks for tuning in select markets there, as well as Hotel TV, where applicable, and Chicago Food Favorites, of course, on Facebook. Make sure you check that out, folks. Now that we've got everybody covered, we'll give a nice round of applause for that. All right, moving on. So we talked a little bit about the unfair treatment from some of the players in the league, being the WNBA, on Caitlin Clark, and I have to say that Caitlin Clark is one of those players that, again, folks, if you don't know who this is, she is a lights-out shooter in the WNBA, a really good all-around player. I mean, she can play. I mean, she could probably play in the NBA. Just one of those players. She shoots lights out, plays really good defense, and one of those rare players that actually really plays both ends of the court. But she's got an enormous impact on the league. The WNBA absolutely unequivocally needed something like this, because it sure seemed like they were just dying. Didn't matter whether Vegas won 2 or 3 in a row with these championships, whatever. It doesn't really matter, because when you get a player, an impact player, it's kind of like when Michael Jordan came into the league, or Magic Johnson came into the league, or Lou Alcindor came in the league, but you know him as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or Bill Walton came in, or who? Will Chamberlain, and on we go. Pistol Pete Maravich, Magic Johnson. There have been players that they just make these incredible impacts on it. And Caitlin Clark is that person. In fact, NBC News put a nice piece together, and they say Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA could eclipse $1 billion. I mean, folks, $1 billion! Show me the money! That is massive. And good for her. I mean, look, she is very good. We're going to give her a round of applause. But for those that don't know, we're going to talk a little bit more about the impact, because the impact of the Indiana Fever's Caitlin Clark goes well beyond basketball. And of course, this is only her second season, and Clark is also changing the league's bottom line. And so Andrew Grief wrote a nice piece here, and we're going to go ahead and give him credit because we can. Now, when the WNBA returned to action recently, Ryan Brewer, like many who follow the league, was curious to see how Indiana, the Indiana Fever star, of course, Caitlin Clark, might top her Rookie of the Year season. Yet, the interest of Brewer, an associate professor of finance at Indiana University, Columbus, and an expert at valuations, goes beyond Clark's box score average. After Clark's phenomenal popularity spiked attendance and merchandise sales and drew historic television ratings wherever the Fever played in the previous year, in her rookie year, Brewer was asked by the Indianapolis Star to evaluate her economic impact on the WNBA, and he determined that Clark was responsible for a staggering 26.5% of all WNBA economic activities in her rookie year, including, of course, revenue for merchandise, ticket sales, and television. When Brewer crunched the numbers to analyze her potential impact in the next year, her second year, he arrived at a valuation that, quote, is quite impressive, close quote. That's what Brewer said. And he goes on to say, quote, if things just go as they were, and we have an expanded season of 22 home games with modest inflation, I'm looking at $875 million. And I could easily see that eclipse $1 billion on the economic impact of Caitlin Clark just in the present year, close quotes. So, the WNBA's 29th season opened at a time when basketball is kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel, folks, and Clark has played a very important role to catapult this league. I mean, she's essentially saved the league as I see it. And I know some WNBA people. In fact, we've had them on our show when we had previous correspondents from the WNBA. We had Adrian Goodson on. We had, we've had Janelle Burse on this show, and a champion, WNBA champion with the Seattle Storm, and several others as well. And listen, folks, we have seen some really interesting things happen as far as the league goes, but we've never seen the impact that we're seeing now. I mean, look, for the first time since 2008, the WNBA expanded the season to add a 13th team. Of course, that would be the Golden State Club, the Golden State Valkyries. Next season, 2 more will debut, 1 in Toronto and 1 in Portland. As the WNBA's footprint grows, so do its coffers. In 2026, the league will enter the first year of an 11-year media rights deal worth $2.2 billion overall. Yeah, that's right, $2.2 billion, and that's expected to triple in its current media rights deal. So, of course, one of the media rights is NBC, which, of course, shares a parent company, NBC News, as well. So we have to make sure we mention that because this is an NBC News piece. Now, anticipating the arrival of new media revenue, the Players Union opted out of its collective bargaining agreement with the league last October and will spend the upcoming months negotiating a new deal that union hopes, of course, will lead to higher salaries. Now, Clark, as a rookie, earned $76,535 as a rookie, and of course, in her next season, will receive a slight pay raise. Amount dwarfs, of course, to bigger endorsements. She's got the big 8-year deal with Nike for $28 million. And of course, it would be impossible to pay her what she's worth to the league, and that's what her agent told the 4-letter network. Now, that could be because the viewership across women's sports was already on the rise by the time Clark emerged as a superstar at the University of Iowa. Now, I don't know about that. I wouldn't say that the league was on the rise. I think the league was stagnated. And then knowing that she was going to come into the league, I think it got an enormous boost. And they say in economic terms, that's a short-term shock or maybe even a long-term shock to the economy. Now, while an average of 17,035 fans attended the Fever's 20 home games, more than the city's NBA team, by the way, more than the Indiana Pacers, which share the exact same arena, averaged over 41 games, overall WNBA attendance increased from an average of 6,615 to 9,807 in the season previous, as Fever games produced the most watched WNBA games ever on ESPN, ESPN2, ABC, CBS, NBA TV. League-wide viewership also broke records, including an average of 1.2 million per ESPN broadcast. That's pretty significant. Now, the WNBA has a private company. Listen, they are a private company and does not disclose revenue figures, and a league spokesman actually had said that, yet the league reported the year previous that its merchandise sales through Dick's Sporting Goods had increased by 233% over the previous season. Now, a spokesperson from Fanatics, WNBA's official e-commerce partner, said that Clark ranks in the top 20 of its top-selling athletes across all sports and 6th among all basketball players, including, that's right, including the NBA. That's pretty significant, folks. If you're out gaining the players from the NBA, you are doing something right. I'll tell you that much right now. Now, the rising tide associated with Clark continued to lift all other boats, too. All WNBA merchandise sold by Fanatics increased by more than 500% last season. That's crazy. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave that one right there. When we come back from break, I want to dig more into Clark's effect on the WNBA because, folks, what we're witnessing here is essentially what Michael Jordan has done to the NBA. This is what Caitlin Clark is doing to the WNBA. Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Don't go anywhere.
You'll get your chance, smart guy.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportcircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. B-E-E-P-I-N autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Excellent.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by The Sports Circus. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, our prior guests, recorded shows, which could be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher, Deezer, plus others as well. And while you're at thesportscircus.com, make sure you check out the store tab right across the top. Right in the middle, a shameless plug, of course, for the Sports Circus. Lots of great American-made products with the Sports Circus logo, whether it's hats, T-shirts, coats, sweatpants, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, travel mugs, mouse pads, pillows, whatever it is. Check it out at thesportscircus.com's tab that says store and mention the Sports Circus's Ringmaster Sal for an extra 10% off. Yes! Yes! A shameless plug, of course, for the Sports Circus. All right, folks, welcome back to everybody. You know, you are TV radio. That basically includes just about everybody, plus everybody streaming and everybody on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right, back to this Caitlin Clark story. This is really good stuff. This is about Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA. NBC News said that this could actually eclipse $1 billion, and so far it's already been proven to be right close to it from an expert in the valuation business. Now, of course, picking up where we left off, Clark's effect shows few signs of really going backwards. I mean, it just seems like they just keep moving forward. Now, 1.3 million viewers tuned in on the four-letter network, that'd be ESPN, to watch a preseason game. That's right. Played at the University of Iowa, where Caitlin Clark went to school, and of course an audience that was bigger than all but 2 NBA preseason games, and that was of course on ESPN Radio, or ESPN, since 2010. That's right, and both of those games included LeBron James. Of course, that's per Sports Business Journal. So, of this season's, and actually, never mind this season, but the reality is, if you take a look at the WNBA and the games on StubHub, the games that involve the Indiana Fever, according to a spokesperson that handles online ticketing retailers, look, the games, the best-selling games, of course, are WNBA games, and they are Indiana Fever games. Now, when the Fever are the visiting team, the average price of the tickets jumped by 140%. That's crazy. And the average price of a ticket to catch Clark in Indiana on the road is $312. Just, I guess, to walk in the door. That's crazy. And so I remember seeing this somewhere, and it was a game between Indiana and Chicago. And because it was a big matchup between Caitlin Clark and this alleged nonsensical rivalry nonsense with Angel Reese from the Chicago Sky. So they moved the game from the original home for the Chicago Sky. They moved the game to the United Center so they could sell more tickets and make more money. And so what happened was, it happened that Clark got injured. So she was out for a little bit, and the ticket prices, believe it or not, they plummeted. Oh yeah, they plummeted down. They couldn't give these things away for $3 a ticket. $3. That's insane. They couldn't give these away. And of course, you would think that Angel Reese would have had the best game of her life, not having to worry about Clark defending her. Well, she absolutely laid an egg on the court. I think the team only scored an abysmal 52 points, and they were blown out by, I think, 30-odd points without Caitlin Clark on the team, but because she was injured. But my point is, the ticket sales were projected to be significantly higher, just like what StubHub had said with their 140% pricing increase when it comes to games that Clark's playing in. But the reality is, when Clark wasn't there and she was going to be there, but she couldn't play, they couldn't give those tickets away. So, according to NBC News, Clark is, quote, not just driving demand for Fever, but she's elevating interest across the entire league, close quote. And that was from a guy by the name of Adam Budelli, a StubHub spokesperson. So, now recently, well, let's just say a year ago, Sportico pegged the value of the Fever franchise at $90 million, slightly less than the estimated league average. Yet, in Brewer's analysis, the guy who's doing this valuation, the net effect of Clark's presence drove the valuation of the Fever closer to $340 million. That's right, because of one player. And Brewer also calculated that Clark's presence, should the interest in her performance be maintained, would result in an economic impact of approximately $41 million just to the city of Indianapolis. Now, remember, this guy Brewer is a finance professor over at Indiana University, Columbus. So that's all he does, apparently. I mean, he is really good in the valuation game. So we're talking some pretty big impact here. Now, Clark wasn't the only rookie in the previous year to draw significant interest. Of course, Angel Reese, going back to college, she led an average of 2.5 million viewers to watch a particular game, and that was one of the games from the Chicago Sky. Yet, as Brewer analyzed attendance and viewership figures from the previous year, these indicated that Clark's influence was singularly responsible for the surge of the new interest in the WNBA. In fact, of the 24 WNBA-related broadcasts that drew at least 1 million television viewers in the season previous, 21 involved Caitlin Clark, according to analysis by Sports Media Watch. Yes, that's right. An outside source. So this is all substantiated. And that, of course, includes the league's draft and all-star game, too. All 3 WNBA games that drew more than 20,000 fans included the Indiana Fever. And so, I mean, like, you can say whatever you want, but Brewer said, quote, it's important to recognize that there is this rival, and there are other rivals, but Caitlin Clark is illuminating the sport. She particularly is the one who's driving in new kinds of demographics, and that's reaching new kinds of people from the traditional WNBA fan base that's causing this growth rate and also accelerating interest in corporate sponsorships, close quote. So, to analyze her economic impact, Brewer in part created models that projected the WNBA's attendance for the season previous based on the league's growth in the year pre-Clark, in the years pre-Clark. So, he then compared it to the actual attendance change and found a 60% of that increase is attributed to Caitlin Clark. And he said, quote, her ability to fill up stadiums is amazing, close quote. And that interest has been felt strongly in Indianapolis, where a $78 million practice facility solely for the Fever is under construction. And yes, in 2024, after Indiana drafted Clark number 1, Visit Indy, a nonprofit that promotes tourism to the city, sprung into action. And it placed paid advertising throughout Iowa, including on social media, to test whether Clark's diehard collegiate fans might have an appetite to make the trip to Indiana to watch her as a pro. Soon, visits to the page on Visit Indy's website dedicated to the Fever's increased by 501%, said Chris Gall, Visit Indy's executive vice president and chief marketing officer. That's kind of a big deal. And of course, Fever home games also correspond with a bump in booked hotel rooms in the city. Well, of course, I'm going to imagine that's for restaurants too. So part of Gall's job is to persuade those in charge of booking large corporate meetings and conventions to host them in Indianapolis. And last year, he found a new way to entice nearly 50 planners to check out the city for the first time, taking them to a Fever game. And the planners, who were predominantly women, quote, would not have traveled here and visited here were if not for the invitation to come see a home Fever game, close quote. That's according to the chief marketing officer. And of course, an Indiana Fever home game is a very hot ticket. Now, with all that said, and I can even tell you, even the Sweets and Snacks Expo that's held in Chicago every year for decades, that's where it's basically the candy convention, folks. It's all the sweets and snacks, and there's 400 plus really, really cool bleeding edge cutting edge, everything. It's the newest of new in the sweets and snacks world. And that was even moved to Indianapolis. That's right. And so there is so much happening in Indianapolis because of Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. I mean, this isn't just a flash in the pan. I mean, there is huge money involved in this and the impact that Caitlin Clark is making. And I would say that Caitlin Clark, from a marketing standpoint, for what she represents to the WNBA, is exactly what Michael Jordan represented to the NBA. And I'm not going to say James, because James seemed, in my opinion, to divide the audience, where Michael Jordan brought the audience. And there was a big, big difference. Magic Johnson did the same exact thing. And frankly, Larry Bird did the same exact thing. But Larry Bird seemingly needed Magic Johnson, where Michael Jordan didn't need anybody, because Michael Jordan was, and still to this day, was the best basketball player that has ever played. Remember, Michael Jordan was the best player on offense and the best player on defense. That's right, in the NBA. When you can win Defensive Player of the Year and win the scoring title at the same time, and not even the glove, Gary Payton, could actually defend you. And Michael Jordan took that title from Gary Payton, and Gary Payton was fine with it. But the reality is, when you're the best at both ends, this is the impact. And Caitlin Clark is joining into that world right now. Watch out, folks. I'm going to talk a little bit more about her impact when we come back from the break. This is a lot of fun, folks. I hope you're enjoying this one. Back here in a few minutes.
What's up, Dad?
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey, everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP-TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, recorded shows, which can be found on all streaming platforms. And, of course, make sure you check out the partners page. Lots of great partners at thesportscircus.com. And, of course, one of our favorites is Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. That's Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. And if you can't make it over there for some great food, check them out at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. And listen, folks, they've been in business since 1938, and they are the actual creators of the Italian beef sandwich way back about 117 years ago. So they are the first to market. They're the best in the business. The food is incredible. The people are cool. And let's face it, you'll get a gut full of great food. And of course, you tell them that the circus sent you. Maybe you'll get an extra fry or something. Who the hell knows? But boy, the food is good. All right, welcome back to everybody. TV, radio, you know who you are. And we've spent this time talking about the impact of Caitlin Clark. And I have to say, I'm going to finish this off today with Caitlin Clark because, look, if you don't know the impact of what she has done to the league. Now, I just covered a real nice article that was on NBC News about that. And now, in case you don't know, in case, again, you've been living under a rock, Caitlin Clark's arrival in the WNBA has undeniably brought a significant positive impact, particularly in terms of increased viewership, attendance, and merch sales, as I mentioned. But her star power has drawn a surge of new fans as well, which, of course, is really boosting the league overall. And again, that also deserves an astounding round of applause because we can. Okay. I mean, look, we could just completely fill the show with applause for her, but I just want to run over some of these things in case you're just tuning in a little bit late. I mean, again, the increased viewership ratings, Clark's presence has led to record-breaking television viewership for the WNBA. And of course, and that's with ESPN, ABC, and others experiencing their most watched WNBA games, and that's according to Sports Datalow and NBC News. Now, national television rankings and ratings have seen substantial increases, some games drawing millions of viewers. And of course, her absence to injury has had noticeable ratings dropping significantly, as I did mention something about that. Even USA Today talks about that. But higher attendance, of course, we talked about that as well from NBC News. But listen, Clark's games have drawn enormous crowds, of course, with Fever setting new single-season home attendance records on top of it. And her games also broke attendance records for regular season games and have been moved to larger venues, as I alluded to in the previous segment, with the game being moved to the United Center in Chicago against the Chicago Sky. And that, of course, that's according to multiple sources. And listen, moving to bigger venues is to accommodate demand, of course, so they could gouge and make a little bit more money too. But pick your favorite source talks about that one, even Wikipedia does. Now, also, the increased attendance is not just limited to home games, as road games have also seen a boost in her attendance when she's playing, that be Caitlin Clark, according to NBC News, as we talked about in the previous segment. And that big boost in merch sales, look, Clark's jerseys and other merch are the top sellers in the WNBA, with overall merch sales seeing a significant increase, and her marketability has attracted major brands to sponsor her, leading to a gigantic deal, of course, with Nike. She's got that $28 million deal. And folks, when it comes to the ladies, they don't get those kind of big deals. And for Clark to get one of those, that is really, really substantial and good for her. I mean, thinking about the impact that she has had on attendance and merch and everything else. I mean, she is an absolute goldmine for the WNBA. And for the way that she's been treated among some of the other players, and I think it's just jealousy and all this other crap, but guess what? They should be thanking her. It's because of her that they'll get bigger salaries, they'll make more money, better endorsement deals, and all this other stuff. I mean, when it comes to the economic impact, again, an economist that I mentioned before, his name was Brewer, he said that Clark was responsible for over 25% of the WNBA's economic activity in the year previous, 26.5% to be exact. Her impact on the city of Indianapolis alone was an estimated $36 million. That's according to the Indianapolis Star. One financial expert predicted that Clark could help the WNBA generate close to $1 billion in revenue in the current season, the present season, according to Sports Illustrated. I mean, look, folks, all these statements are all substantiated by this source or that source. I mean, there's a bigger problem, though. We have challenges and criticisms. And so while Clark's impact, of course, is undeniable, there have also been some critics and challenges, including some players feeling that she is being unfairly elevated. Now, why would they feel that? Why? Because it's a white girl? Is that it? Is that what it is? I mean, what else could it be? And she's not of the LGBTQ plus community, apparently. I mean, nothing has come out about that. And so my question is, what is the deal with these critics? And others, some have questions, and they question the narrative of being the sole face of the league, especially given the years of hard work done by other players. Well, listen, if they were so good as far as driving revenue, don't you think that they would have done this prior to her arrival in the first place? One would think that'd be the case. And then there's also others that have been instances on courts, and they're saying the physicality and the tensions between Clark and other players leading to technical fouls and flagrant fouls. And so they're saying that she's getting preferential treatment. I don't know, getting poked in the eye and shoved to the floor and this, that, and the other. That doesn't sound preferential to me. That sounds like abuse to me. I mean, look, despite the challenges, Clark's arrival has undeniably brought a significant wave of excitement and interest in the WNBA. And frankly, me personally, I'm not a big WNBA guy, but because Clark's in there playing, I'll tune in and I'll watch and see what she's doing because she's a good player. And there's a lot of good players in the league, but she's the one in the same way when Eldrick Woods, so you can call him Tiger, when Tiger Woods came out of the scene in the golf world, he was must-see television, just like Michael Jordan was must-see television. In baseball, Shohei Ohtani, must-see television. Every sport has these. I mean, let's face it, when Bo Jackson played football, Bo Jackson was must-see television. And that's basically what's going on with Caitlin Clark. And even in hockey with Connor McDavid, they say he's the best player in the world. Well, guess what? He's lost 2 Stanley Cups in a row. So I don't necessarily think he's the best player, but they say he's the best player. Okay, fine. So if that is the case, everybody tunes in when this guy's playing hockey. Well, it seems like whenever Caitlin Clark's playing basketball, it seems like a whole lot of people are tuning in to see what the heck is going on with her, see how she performs, see how she acts, see how she basically handles all the physical abuse. Remember how Shaq used to they did the old hack-a-Shaq, right? So they would send him to the foul line because he wasn't really good at shooting fouls. But Shaq never got out of line. I know he got angry a couple of times here and there, but Shaq never lost his cool. Shaq has been great for television. He's been great for basketball. And guess what? I think Caitlin Clark is getting into that territory. You give her some more years, and maybe you give her a championship, one somewhere in there. If her team wins one, and she will be one of those people like Shaquille O'Neal and Michael Jordan and all those others that I mentioned. Even Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson was one of those guys, right? And so you think of all these guys, and look, Ohtani's got himself a World Series now. And so he has solidified his future and his Hall of Fame status and everything else. And so Clark is going to do the exact same thing. And look, Clark brings a level of shooting to the WNBA that hasn't seen before either. I mean, regularly launching threes from way downtown and hitting about 35% of them from beyond the arc. And that's for her career. And let's face it, she was the number 1 overall pick and is up to, 36.7 through a bunch of games. And her three-point shooting is amazing. But what's more impressive is her defense. That's really what I'm after. And so when you think about her defense on that side, because look, just like in anything, you got to be a good defender while you're also a good offensive player. And even in bowling, yeah, that's right, I said it, even in bowling, you have to be a good spare shooter to score the big scores on a regular basis. Because if you're just aiming for strikes and you don't care about the spares, well, guess what? You're going to be a mediocre bowler because you're not going to get those extra pins when it comes to your score. And so you're basically losing out on an extra 10, an extra 10, an extra 10. Before you know it, you could have a bunch of strikes, but you'll have no spares, and you'll be just an average bowler. And so if you're not playing defense, you're not going to be viewed as a great player. That's why Michael Jordan is viewed as the best player that basketball's ever seen, because he was the best at both ends. The question is, will Caitlin Clark be at that same parallel? Will she be the best defensive player and the best offensive player? She's already the best offensive player. But can she raise herself on the defensive side of the ball? She's already a really good defender, but could she possibly get to be the best defender and offensive player and win the defensive player of the year and the scoring title in the same year? Now that is something I would like to see, because that tells me you have absolutely hit the absolute pinnacle of your career. And look, again, I don't really watch the WNBA, and a lot of you people that are listening right now, you probably don't watch too much of the WNBA, but when Caitlin Clark is on television, folks, I believe that she is must-see TV. And you think about what she makes. She doesn't make a bunch of money. And look, Clark's endorsement deals have, of course, surpassed her salary, which is about $76,000, which is negligible in the grand scheme of things. And that was basically a rookie contract, even if it goes up a couple $1,000, whatever. She got a big deal from Nike because Nike sees the value in her. She got an 8-year, $28 million. And of course, that's like $3.5 million a year. But she also has deals with Gatorade, State Farm, Wilson, Hy-Vee, Xfinity, Gainbridge, Lilly, and Panini. But those aren't for much money at all. I think Gatorade is, I don't know, $20,000 or something like that. And I think that goes to her foundation or whatever it is. But her total endorsement income is about, it was actually, for the year of 2024, is $11.1 million. That includes her minuscule salary, of course, according to Indy Star, and Sportico. So she doesn't really make much, but more importantly, she's good for the game, and she has that Caitlin Clark effect, and that refers to that significant surge in popularity and economic impact on women's basketball. So she is a big, big beacon of light, of hope for the WNBA. And if you don't support Caitlin Clark, that means you don't support the WNBA. So folks, I would encourage you to get out and try to go to a game or two or whatever it is, watch it on TV, and you'll see the caliber of play. You'll hear the excitement in the crowd. You'll hear the excitement in the announcer's voice. And let's face it, Caitlin Clark has a significant impact on female sports in general. And you've got to get out there and support the ladies, because she is leading the charge for the ladies. And that's the end of that. Tell you what, folks, we're going to see you in 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, make sure you tune into a game or two. Follow women's sports. They're good. It's fun. And let's keep men out of women's sports. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today. We'll see you again in 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, I'm your Ringmaster Sal. So long, everyone.
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. Write this number down.
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.